Happy New Year and Happy Monday! This video is being released on the first Monday of the year, which means if you haven't set any financial goals yet, you are 4 days behind. But have no fear, because I got your back. Okay, I know that goal setting could be intimidating, but in this video, I'll go through 9 financial goals that you could consider in 2021. And the truth is, you don't need a new year to start making better financial choices. You just need to decide. Now watch till the end because I'll go through some resources and tools that can make goal setting easier and goal digging easier for you. Some of these goals, by the way, might surprise you. So let's go!
Money does not possess me. Money? What is it, money? Somebody gonna have to tell the truth.
Hey, I'm Hervin Pesa. If we haven't met before, welcome. I'm a financial planner, but just like you, I'm on a journey to building wealth and financial independence. My mission is to help you build your wealth so that you can live a life full of meaning and one that's full of joy. I post weekly money lessons diving deep into things that we all wish we learned in school. So if you're ready to take control of your finances and you'd like to join me in this journey, consider subscribing and be sure to hit that bell so you never miss a lesson. Now in this video, I'll share some pretty tactical stuff, but first I need to say this. I believe in you. I know that sounds strange, but I truly do. I mean, you're watching a video like this when there's other things you could be doing. 99.9% of the population wouldn't invest enough time in themselves to walk through something like this and actually take the time to set goals. So yeah, I believe in you. I believe in new beginnings. I believe in work. So here's to a new year and here's to a new you. Now, all of these are focused on getting you started and not perfection, but you'll probably need help staying on track. So before we get started, consider sharing this with somebody who you believe could be an accountability partner. Maybe your spouse, your friend, someone who can go through this journey with you because as I mentioned in my last video, wealth building is a team sport. You need help staying in the game. So maybe after watching this together, you guys can create a list of personal goals together. One last thing for you to remember is that some of these prompts intend to get you started, but it may take you years to finish. And that would cause you to just not start. Don't be afraid. Just get started. Goal number 1, forgive yourself. I bet you didn't expect that, did ya? This is number 1 for a reason. See, we have to get your mindset right. You have to forgive yourself for past mistakes or feeling like you started too late, for not being where you want to be financially or where you thought you would be by now. Building wealth and developing yourself will require change, a transformation, and it will be extremely difficult to do that if you keep on hanging on and clinging on to your past boo-boos. When you decide to take your finances seriously, even your friends might start doubting you or start questioning you, not intentionally, but by focusing on getting your finances in order, they might feel like you're indirectly challenging their values. So you need to be sure to get out of your own way because there's enough doubt out there. There's enough baggage out there. Crush any limiting beliefs first because there's already enough noise outside. Now, I won't get too into it, but one of the things that I had to work through and brush myself off is I spent $30,000 to $40,000 in 2 years of my life building a business that I eventually walked away from and got zero. That was an expensive lesson in making sure that I invest in the right partners, in the right affiliations, but I took it, brushed myself off, and I would honestly probably invest in that same business model again, just not the same way and not the same people and not the same structures. But the lesson there is I had to keep moving forward. So whatever financial hangups you've had, you've already paid the tuition. Don't keep suffering through it. You'll make mistakes again, but you gotta stay in the game. If you never really put any time to learn about this, just brush it off. If you feel like it's too late, let's look at goal number 2. You need to get lit. Get fin lit. That's so lame. But see, Make it a part of your goal to become more financially literate. I know, super simple sounding, but this would actually require you to spend some time reading and learning and having conversations. See, the financial services industry, unfortunately, is jargon filled, and it could lead to misunderstandings or unnecessary amount of intimidation and confusion. And this confusion then leads to what? Inaction. See, you don't need to master everything, but understanding basic terms like capital, time horizon, and volatility could go a long way. The next video in the coming weeks will give you a summary of terms that you should know as a new investor. And depending on when you're watching this, it might already be out. So check the links below. There's a playlist to the right. Goal number 3. You need to become an investor. See, an investor is simply someone who carefully allocates resources for the opportunity to possibly earn a return. It's not a dollar amount. You become an investor by deciding to be one. Whether it's $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, or $1 million. The moment that you allocate cash for a return, it can fuel your goals. You are an investor. Regardless of how small the start, get started. And right now, you're investing your time learning a little bit more about money. And hopefully the return is clarity and some knowledge and perhaps just a little bit of entertainment. Now, if you need some outside validation, I'll give it to you. By the power vested in me, by myself, for myself, I deem you worthy to call yourself an investor. I believe in you. Now, it's official. I gave you a title. Can you give me a like so that YouTube can learn to give me some love? Just boop that button. Thanks. Now, before I move on, let me ask you a question. Are you already investing, or is this all new to you? If you aren't, what's stopping you? And if you are, how can I help you? Please let me know in the comments below. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Goal number 4. Start tracking your net worth. Your net worth is a snapshot of where you currently stand financially. Your net worth is the sum of all of your assets, everything you own, minus the sum of all your liabilities, everything you owe. This shows you a moment in time, but you need to track your monthly, quarterly, or at least a yearly net worth statement to see if it's improving or not. This will be an unforgiving picture of your wealth, because you could look at somebody and they may look rich, but if you consider what they owe, they might not be as far ahead as you think. Let's look at 2 examples just so that you understand that. Let's look at the Garcias and the Joneses. They're close friends, but they live in different neighborhoods. And let's simplify it. Let's say they only own their homes and no other assets. The Joneses live in a palatial $1 million home, while the Garcias live in a much more modest neighborhood, and their home is worth about $450,000. From the outside looking in, the Joneses look like they fly high, no lie, they ballin', while the Garcias look basic. But if you find out that the Garcias only owe $150,000 in their mortgage, making their net worth $300,000, while the Joneses owe $900,000, making their net worth $100,000, the Garcias are in fact $200,000 richer. But the Joneses had better Instagram photos, which is really what it's about. As promised, I want to make this easier for you, so I created resources that you can actually print and a net worth statement that you can print and fill out on your own. If you go to winningin2021.com, that's winningin2021.com, and follow the prompts, you will get a workbook emailed to you for free. You'll also automatically be notified when I create additional resources and calculators in the future. So go to winningin2021.com. In that workbook, you'll find a set of net worth statements, one for 2021 and one for 2022. The reason for this is so that you can have a benchmark and compare it next year. See, if your goal is to be $20,000 wealthier by the end of the year, write that down beside the January 2021 worksheet. If you have an accountability partner, tell them. If you've decided to do this with your spouse or a trusted friend, share it with them and get them to do it too. I'll tell you, if you've never done this before, it could feel real scary because these numbers are just as honest as Shakira's hips. You may even end up with a negative net worth, especially if you're young, you're a new graduate, or just starting out, but that is okay. What's important is that when you check this again in a year, you've gone and moved to the right direction. Use the following examples so that you can have a guide when you walk through this. Let's say that you start the year with the following: $20,000 in your long-term investments or retirement accounts, $5,000 in your savings, and your car could sell for $15,000 today. So your total assets are worth $40,000. While your liabilities, on the other hand, are as follows: car loan worth $23,000, a student loan worth $30,000, and $15,000 in credit card debts. Total liabilities, $68,000. Your total net worth then would be a negative $28,000 in the beginning of 2021. Let's say you're unable to add any extra amount into your savings and investments, but because of the market, it still rose to $21,500. Let's say you spent the year just paying off your debts, $15,000 towards your credit card, and drop that down to zero, and you paid down your car loan by $5,000. Your net worth at the end of this year would still be a negative $6,500, and that could feel disheartening. It's still a negative number, but you are still $21,500 wealthier in this situation. That is a win. Keep moving in the right direction. Keep moving. Goal number 5, start building an emergency reserve. This should be about 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses accessible in cash. How would you do this? Step 1, open a separate bank account in a separate bank. Set up an automatic bank transfer from your checking account to that new one every single month, and then throw away the debit card for your new account. This bank account will never have any returns. That's just the fact of it. But with every transfer, you are buying the peace of mind that when an emergency comes in the future, you will be ready. The first mini goal for this would probably be to get your emergency cash to $2,500. This is now the average amount that I'm seeing as a deductible for home and auto insurance plans. Gone are the days when you can get a $500 deductible and still pay a reasonable premium on insurance policies. Your emergency reserve will ultimately act as a buffer so that you don't dip into your investments when it comes to times of volatility or emergencies. But so do other risk management tools such as your disability insurance, critical illness insurance, and life insurance. So make sure that you check into those as well, and we'll tackle that in a separate video. Goal number 6, you need to create a debt management plan. I know that not all debts are bad, and when properly managed, you can probably lower your tax bills by borrowing instead of cashing out investments to fund major purchases. But for the new investor, every dollar that's being paid into debt is a dollar that's not being invested. Depending on how much you owe, it may be impossible to pay all of your debts this year, but having a plan implemented could go a long way. So look into creating a debt snowball or a debt avalanche that will empower you. And that's something that we'll tackle probably in the 1st of February, so check out that video later on. Goal number 7, create a financial plan, or at least look into building a financial plan. Your financial plan will be your roadmap and should give you a decision-making framework when weighing opportunities, investments, and potential risks based on your goals and what you want to accomplish. The most important part of this plan is identifying your true goals and the values you hold dear. A financial plan would break down key goals and action items for the next year, the next 3 years, 5 years, or even as far down as retirement. This is important because many of our life goals will have a conflict with each other. Do you pour your resources into buying your first home, paying your kids' education, investing for your retirement, or maybe starting a business? You can do this alone or with a planner. The important part is taking a step back and trying to look at the big picture, because you don't want to end up laying a timeline, taking actions, and accomplishing the goal only to find out that you don't really care for it. See, I recently did a discovery call with a young investor. He was asking me to help him plan for his home purchase, and he had the money for it. But after asking 3 or 4 questions, he came to the conclusion that it's not really the time. He didn't really want to buy a house right now, but what he actually wanted was the feeling that his money was working for him. See, if he bought a house today, he would just end up renting it out. He decided to postpone that because the home purchase with his partner is more important to him. And what he really wanted was to invest the cash so that it grows in a way that matches his desire for returns, but still feels safe, not the house. To help you clarify your goals, I created some prompts to flush out what you truly value. The workbook and a sample walking you through a goal discovery is included. What I'll say is when you work through this, just think about the goals and clarify the what so that you can get to the why. We'll learn about the tactics and how to accomplish them later. Right now, let me just wave a magic wand, and you need to operate in a mindset that everything you write down here will come true. One of the prompts is as follows. This is a sample. Imagine it's 5 years into the future. It's now 2026. What needs to have happened over that 5-year period for you to feel happy and to feel accomplished? Name 3 of your biggest accomplishments that you are most proud of and most grateful for. List those down. Again, you'll see that in the workbook. So go to winningin2021.com. Financial goal number 8. Pay yourself before you play yourself. According to Investopedia, savings is the money a person has left over when they subtract their consumer spending from their disposable income over a given period. They're saying it's the money you have left at the end of the month. 2 things that I have issue with is there's no such thing as disposable income. You'd get hurt if someone called you disposable, right? Your income probably feels the same way. So you have to allocate every dollar. Don't dispose of nothing. Second issue that I have with this is there is usually more month at the end of the money. So what you need to do is treat your investment as a bill. It has to come out at a specific day of the month or the week. This way, instead of giving yourself the leftovers, you prioritize yourself. By committing to a regular investing day and a regular amount, you will also harness the power of dollar cost averaging, a simple and powerful way to get consistent investment returns long term. Financial goal number 9, create an income and expense plan. This is not the same as a budget, kind of. See, the challenge with a usual budget is that most of the time, all it asks you to do is chop, 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 wah! And this is probably the main reason people don't do it. They just feel like a budget is so restraining. But what if you learn to see it as liberating? By paying yourself first and creating a budget, you ensure that you have allocated for the big rocks. You can freely spend on things that brings you joy if you've already accounted for your savings, your investing, and debt reduction strategies. You've already funded your regular expenses and your other goals. So any unallocated amount should be spent on living. Now, here's the rub. It's normal for us to want bigger and better things, to dream. And the reality is, the dreams might not fit in our current incomes. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a dream, right? The issue with this is when we try to buy the dream with credit instead of finding ways to increase our income. To simplify, an income and expense plan is a budgeting for your dream. It's not that I'm pro-consumerism, but I'm also not for hyper-focused skimping that you end up missing an opportunity to live life. The things that you dream about probably cost more than what you currently pay for. If you want a bigger home, a better car, nicer vacations, more time off, you'd need to figure out a way to increase your income so that you can comfortably afford those things and experiences without sacrificing your other goals, your plans, and your values. Find out what additional income you will need and break that down. So if your new goals will require you to earn an extra $2,000 a month, go to the next step and figure out what it would take. That's actually $12.50 an hour of an increase. Is that possible with your current job, your current skill sets? If not, then what side hustle can you start to build up to that and earn that extra $2,000 a month? See, a budget only focuses on what you can and can't afford. You need to use that information, take it a step further, and figure out how you can afford it. See, I truly believe that I can't afford it is lazy thinking. Change that to a question and say, how can I afford it? So that's it. 9 financial goals that I want you to consider. I really wanted to focus on giving sample goals for new investors that would nudge them and others to start. So please don't expect to finish all of these in 2021, but you can certainly start all of them. If there's something you think others should consider, please share it in the comments section below. Now, if you got value out of this at all, please consider subscribing to the channel and definitely share it with others, most especially the person you believe should be your accountability partner. Click here for the next videos and look out for the Fundamentals of Investing playlist. Until next time, take control, be aware. Love y'all. Peace out.